We ready to begin? 10, 9, 8. I don't even hear myself. Am I loud enough in here? Yeah, okay. He knows I get louder. No, I wasn't, Mike. Now the rest, for Cheryl, definitely. Okay. Happy birthday. We're still waiting for the techies to catch up to us. And you need to mute everybody, don't forget. They're not alarmed. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So I want to thank everyone who came to join us in person tonight, and I want to thank everyone who is watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Zoom, or our website. Wherever you are part of the Kol Tikva community, and hopefully over the next few weeks, more and more of you will join us in the sanctuary for services. But I'm happy to be here tonight. I know Cantor Noah is happy to be here tonight. And everyone who has physically shown up, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we take a moment, and let's take a moment just of quiet. A moment to still our bodies. A moment to mute the Zoom so we don't hear it. A moment where we take a deep breath in. And we hold it, and we let it out. Another deep breath in. Hold it, and let out the stresses of this week. Let it out. And on this breath, take in the power of Shabbat, a deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. And now let's turn in our prayer books to page 130 for the Chun Aranana to begin the singing we do each Shabbat to warm our hearts and souls, to remind us that today is a special day. Page 130.
לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. נריע, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה. נריע, נריע לצור אישנו, בזמירות נריע לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני.
There was once a student who turned to his rabbi, to his teacher, and he said, "Please teach me how to prepare my soul for the service of God." And this rabbi said to him, "Go to another rabbi's home, to another rabbi's office." What he didn't know was that this rabbi at this moment was actually an innkeeper. He had not yet become a rabbi. So the disciple did as he was bidden, not bitten, but bidden. And he lived at that inn where that man who would someday become a famous rabbi, where he worked. And he lived there for several weeks watching this future tzaddik. And he didn't see one moment, one vestige of holiness. He didn't see anything. He didn't see him praying. He didn't see him doing good deeds. All he saw him do was devote himself to his business. And so finally this student turned to this innkeeper and said, "What do you do all day that is so special?" And this man said, "My most important occupation is to clean the dishes properly so that not the slightest trace of food is left, and to clean and dry the pots and pans so they do not rust." And then this student, this disciple, returned home to his rabbi, and he told him what he had heard. And the rabbi said to him, "Now you know the answer to what you have asked." This innkeeper spoke about cleaning dishes, stopping things, pots and pans from rusting. And somehow that made him holy. And we learn so often that when you do something with full intent, good, bad, indifferent, if you take your energy and you direct it towards something good, you can quickly do for others. You can quickly increase your holiness, because whatever you do, it can be shifted towards the holy and the good. And so the idea is that each of us should look at what we're focused upon. And we might realize that we're focused upon something negative, but if we shift our focus, our energies to something good, that same energy can elevate our souls. So now we turn to page 138 for some additional help in that elevation. We're going to be singing Lachad Odi, and hopefully the Sabbath bride will join us and elevate our hearts and souls on this Sabbath. We are on page 138. Cantor Noah?
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקורה ברכה, בראש מקדם נשוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום את עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated. We continue with Shalom Aleichem, found on page 142. We just invited in the Sabbath bride, and now we're going to invite in some angels to bless us. So get ready for that blessing. Try to feel the presence of angels, because we are taught that angels enter our lives every Shabbat. And they give us blessings, they give us hope, they give us courage. Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon, Oy, 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 mi melech, Malachi Amalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. אוי 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 אוי, מי מלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בוצאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. מי מלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
January 27th, 1945, the liberation of Auschwitz and Birkenau. That date has such great importance because it signifies really the end of that moment, that period of persecution. And so the UN back in 2005 declared January 27th International Day, or the International Day of Commemoration in memory of the victims of the Holocaust. I'm always caught by surprise by this date because I always think of Yom HaShoah, which takes place, well, typically around April, around the 27th of Nisan. And these two holidays have different connections, or these two holy days more than holidays. Because the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is done worldwide, well, it's done on that day of liberation. And Yom HaShoah remembers the day of the start of the uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto. And Yom HaShoah comes from Israel. It comes from a declaration made by the Knesset back in 1959. And somehow Yom HaShoah has spread throughout the world for every Jewish community. But yesterday was International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And on this date, we are supposed to remember that liberation. I will say that we focus more in terms of these holy days on Yom HaShoah. And if you come back on Yom HaShoah, our Shabbat service really looks at, well, memory and remembering these terrible days fully. But we didn't want to move forward tonight without at least mentioning it and take a moment to honor it. So we're going to light a memorial candle for the 6 million Jews who died, and also for the 6 million non-Jews who died in concentration and labor camps. Because 12 million people went through a Holocaust. And we now have to also think, as we look at this candle, as we look at it, we must think about those who are in persecution today and how we can help. We kindle this light in memory of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. We commemorate it for the 6 million non-Jews who died because of the Nazis and their collaborators. May the memory of the righteous be for a blessing. Cantor is now going to sing Eli, Eli.
Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רישוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, רישוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. אלי, אלי.
On page 524, we have a poem written by Primo Levi. You who live secure in your warm houses, who return at evening to find hot food and friendly faces, consider whether this is a man who labors in the mud, who knows no peace, who fights for a crust of bread, who dies at a yes or a no. Consider whether this is a woman without hair or name, with no more strength to remember, eyes empty and womb cold as a frog in winter. Consider that this has been. I commend these words to you. Engrave them on your hearts. And when you are in your house and when you walk on your way, when you go to bed and when you rise, repeat them to your children. Or may your house crumble, disease render you powerless, your offspring avert their faces from you. May we always remember the Holocaust, for if we forget it, it will repeat. And now we continue with our service. I'm going to ask Cynthia Deculus to come forward to light our Shabbat candles. She's tonight's sponsor of our Oneg and our virtual Oneg, and I think we have a lot more people attending the virtual Oneg in their homes tonight, where glasses of wine are being served, I believe, as we do our service. So you are going to light our candles. As these candles are lit, we let the warmth of Shabbat into our lives and our hearts. Please light them. To reach our arms out towards the candles and pull in once for Shabbat peace, once for Shabbat love, and once for Shabbat memories. We should always think about those good moments we've had on our Sabbath. Cantor.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav במצוותיו. וציוונו וציוונו להדליק נר, וציוונו וציוונו להדליק נר, וציוונו וציוונו להדליק נר של השבת.
Page 146 for the Baruch Hu. I'm going to ask everyone to rise and face the ark. I went too fast.
Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please remain standing for the Shema. Rabbi Harold Schulweis once wrote, God is not in me nor in you, but between us. God is not in me or mine, nor you or yours, but ours. God is known not alone, but in relationship. Not as separate lonely power, but through our kinship, our friendship, through our healing and being and raising up of each other. His words always remind me that I personally believe that God is in the actions we take, how we lift one another up, how we find ways to make, each other more human and more holy. So let's take a moment and feel the connection with one another, and let's cover our eyes as we chant the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malachuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We continue with the Vahafta. We're on page 154, and Cantor will be tonight's bat mitzvah leading us.
Sure. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let's turn to page 159 and let's read together. And we're a small but mighty crowd tonight, so I need everyone reading with me on 159. And for those of you off on the internet, if you have a book, join in, please. 159. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Micha Mocha, a song of peace, a song of freedom.
Lai 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 la lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai la lai la lai 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 la la lai lai la 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 lai la 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 lai. Mi כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. לי 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 לי
We turn to page 162 for V'shamru. V'shamru speaks about our responsibility to both observe Shabbat and to protect it. And yet, they go hand in hand. If you're not observing, you're not protecting. And if you're not protecting, you're not observing. Because our actions have to be both combined. And that's what we're doing tonight, protecting and observing Shabbat. We are on page 162.
ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדותם ברית עולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדותם ברית עולם.
We turn to page 371 for the Mishaberach. And we say this prayer for those who are ill of mind, body, spirit. And we have so many people who are suffering in this world because of COVID, because of cold, because of natural disasters, because of unnatural disasters. And so as we say this prayer, we need to think about all those who need assistance. But not just those who need assistance, those who are giving assistance, for they too need help. So tonight on our Misha Berach list, Eric Anderson, Richard Barrett, Bella Kane, Gil Cherish, Chuck Cronin, Chaim Deckel, Diane Fantel, Sharon Feist, Alex Fischel, Jackie Fiszl, the Haynes family, Chana Bat Herschel, Sarah Knopf, David Nodal, Bryn Pime, Joseph Rubin, Lisa Sage, Wayne Shaw, Gain Silva, Gail Silva, Rose Seelerick, Julie Stein, Sylvia Nemiroff, obviously those suffering from COVID, and those caring for those who are ill. If you have an additional name for our Misha Berach list, please share it with me now. Misha Berach Avatenu V'Imatenu. May the God of our ancestors grant our Refuah Shlema, a complete and full healing to all those we name tonight and all those we hold in our hearts. And together we say,
Amen.
The singing of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach imotenu מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We turn to page 164 for the Amidah. And as we rise, because we should all rise right now, as we rise, let's remember to pray as if everything depends on God and to act as if everything depends on us. We are on page 164.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים וחסד, וחיי הכל ורחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We pray silently through page 180. When you're done with your silent prayer, you may be seated.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai tzuri v'goali, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Go inside your heart, just be. Go inside your heart and see what it wants, what it needs, what it yearns when you breathe. Go inside your heart and see. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be kind, be true. May they be acceptable to you, oh my rock, my rock, and my Redeemer.
Every Torah portion has a name. And when they give a Torah portion a name like Mishpatim, which means laws, I always find it to be a bit humorous. Because once you get this deep into Exodus, the rest of the Torah is mostly laws and rules. So why do they just have one section called Mishpatim? But they do. Because they typically take that first key word that occurs at the beginning of a parsha and they make it the title. So Mishpatim comes in that first few words. And so whenever we get to this part, I begin to think about laws. I keep thinking about theft, restitution, the codification of laws. Just imagine, let me take a survey. How many people here have gotten a moving violation? I'm shocked that so many of you have not had a moving violation. That's pretty impressive. You can put down your arms right now. Now imagine when you got pulled over, if the police officer could determine what your punishment would be. And there were no rules to this. So I might get pulled over and he'd say, you'll have to pay a $50 fine, and the next person who gets pulled over, he might say you have to go to jail for 2 years. It would all seem very random. And that's pretty much what our legal system was like prior to the time of the Torah. Each case was determined case by case. And the Torah and Torah law changed that for Jews and for much of society. So if we look at Exodus 22:3, you don't have to pull out your iPhones and look it up right now. It says, if the theft shall be found in his hand, whether a live ox or donkey or lamb or iPad, the iPad I threw in, he shall pay double. We start to see laws of this type. So if you steal something and you're caught red-handed with it, what has to happen? You have to pay double. The idea is if I steal one of your cows, I got to give you back the cow I stole plus one. I have to help you increase. I would guess this is the pain and suffering aspect. And it makes sense, and the Torah is filled with laws of this type to help us run a society because, as we saw in, I believe it was last week's Torah portion. No, it's coming up. And soon to be, last week was Yitro, correct? Yep, in last week's Torah portion in Yitro, we saw that Moses was judging everything on a case-by-case basis. He developed, along with his father-in-law, Jethro, a system of judges. But they still didn't have any laws. They just had a system of judges. So we're now getting that system of laws. It's important. We need to know what happens when we go 65 or 75 or 85 miles an hour. We don't want to be surprised by our punishments if we're caught. Now, a few hundred years after the Torah was codified, the rabbis got together and they came up with another category of theft because when you're a rabbi in the Middle Ages, really it's not the Middle Ages, when you're a rabbi between 200 and 600 of the Common Era, you don't have much to do, so you sit around thinking of new ways to interpret these laws. And so they came up with some fascinating ideas, and one of them is called Goanev Da'at Habriot. I'm sure Cantor could say it better than I could. But it's really the idea of stealing the mind of other people. How do you steal the mind of other people? We're not talking about body snatchers. We're not talking about horror films or zombies. We're talking about, well, making empty offers. How do we make an empty offer? How do we make commitments that we know we'll never have to fulfill? Well, think about when you invite someone out to eat and you know they can't make it. Or you call someone when you know they can't pick up the phone. Then when I worked in film and TV, that used to be a big trick. If you would have a call list, and you would, if you were in the office at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you knew that nobody else was in the office, you would call back all the people you really didn't want to talk to. And so you also figured out who didn't want to talk to you by who left you messages at 8 p.m. at night on your answering machine. This is 20 years back, of course. Or, when you offer to pick up the tab, when you know that someone else has already paid the bill. And I'm sure you would know you've done that in the past. And so the rabbis called this goanev da'at habriot, stealing the mind of other people. Because you're really stealing something, because you know what the outcome is going to be. It's really the habit of making an empty offer. You see, the rabbis deepened the intent of the law. And then they took it and they suddenly twisted it. And they said, you know what? Theft isn't always a bad thing. Theft could actually be a good thing. Once again, it's wordplay. But they found that theft could be a good thing. And similar to the rabbi who liked to scrub pans before becoming a great rabbi, they always gave the example of a rabbi who was a thief at one point in his life. A rabbi who I've always been enchanted with because he was quite a scoundrel. And I've mentioned in other sermons. Reish Lakish, he was a famous thief, and he had a band of thieves that he would oversee. And they were some of the greatest thieves of all time. And I always like this idea of someone going from being a bandit to being a rabbi. And one day he was robbing this famous sage, Rav Yochanan. And Rav Yochanan, who is supposed to be a little tiny guy, said to him, "You should use your energy for good and not for bad. You're just a bad human being right now." And for whatever reason, Reish Lakish is touched by his words and goes and studies at the yeshiva and becomes a great rabbi. And similar to that opening story I taught, he took all that energy of leadership, of leading men, of devising plans, of figuring out how to be the best thief that he could be, and he took all that energy and he turned it 180 degrees and he became a great sage. The ideas of stealing the mind of other people or making twofold restitution or using the strength you put into your negative actions and refocusing them toward the good, let's admit it, they're as relevant today as they were over 2,000 years ago. We need to remember that we shouldn't be tricking people like you do when you steal the minds of others. And that if we do something wrong with or without being caught, we should be thinking about how to make restitution. Twofold, threefold, even more. And when you have your life focused on something negative, maybe we need to find a way to take that negativity and refocus that energy onto something good. So tonight, my blessing for each and every one of you that is present. As we move forward in our lives, let's consider ways we can take the strength we put into our negative traits and use them for the positive. Let's consider ways to use the words of the Torah to make restitution that is fair and heartfelt. And when we need to make amends, let's do so in a twofold manner. And together we say, Amen. It is now my honor to ask Cynthia Deculus, one of our board members, to come forward with announcements, and then she's going to stay up here afterwards for a special presentation. Cynthia, you can use this microphone, I hope.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi John, Cantor Noah, for a beautiful service as always. Couple of important, very fun events coming up. So first, our annual poker tournament on March 13th. It's going to be here, right, Wayne? Wayne is in charge. In preparation, we have our Super Bowl squares available until February 11th. You should have all gotten the emails looking for that. Also, save the date for our annual gala. It's happening May 14th. If you're interested in joining our gala committee, please let us know. We'd love to have you. The Cantor's winter class, Hazanut, is that right? Ooh, I said it right. Hazanut Gems. Second class is this Monday. This musical lecture will discuss the German influence on the cantorate, the transition to America, and finally, some modern examples of cantorate gems. On February 6th, we're having a fun event online. Our membership committee is actually sponsoring it, so I really hope everyone participates. It's called Bandingo, and the gentleman who runs it is MC Johnny G. Sounds pretty cool, right? And he kind of described it as a combination between Name That Tune and Bingo. So it sounds like a lot of fun. It's going to have all your favorite music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's online, 5 o'clock on February 6th. So we're really hoping that everyone will come and just have fun together. You can sign up for everything I just mentioned at culticfa.org under events. Keep your eyes on the emails and visit culticfa.org for all the registrations and all the upcoming events. Shabbat Shalom.
You just have to give me a moment. I've got too many papers scattered on this desktop. We're going to turn to page 598 in just a moment for the Mourner's Kaddish. Before we do the Mourner's Kaddish, we're going to do a plaque dedication. We have a new plaque on the back wall. It's for the parents of Cynthia Deculus. And the plaque commemorates both of them, Irv and Sandy Cheritz, who I had the honor of meeting, and who are truly wonderful people. So I'm going to ask Cynthia to come up to the candle lighting table for us. And I'm going to ask, Lindsay, could you go and stand by the white piece of paper back there? Because I'm going to guess that's it. And if you could remove that for us. It's a double one with both of their names on it. Just as they live life, so are they being memorialized. And Cynthia has pulled out a reading as an introduction to the Kaddish and also as a way to honor her parents. So Cynthia, please.
And it's my father's yahrzeit tonight. So. I used to be part of you, belong to you, the extension of your being, but now you live within me, are the spark of my consciousness. I say Kaddish for you, with you, as you, sing your melodies, speak your words, hearing your voice in mine. And my eyes, too green, have somehow started to reflect the blue of yours. I used to be part of you, protected by your presence, by your light, but now the time is mine, and alone I must be more than myself. Your child has become your heir, has become you.
We consider ourselves a people that lives la door of a door from generation to generation. But so often we forget who our great-grandparents were, our great-great-grandparents were. And by taking the time to make sure there's a plaque with their name on it, it helps your children and their children and their children when they walk past these plaques to say, oh, wait a minute, that's one of the family names. I'm going to ask my parent or my grandparent to tell me about this person. We need to remember to memorialize. We need to remember, because we forget to do that. It is all too easy. So thank you for reading the poem. I'm going to have you stay with me right there, and you're going to help us lead Kaddish in just a moment. So now we think about those who have departed recently. Eva Kahn, remembered by the Kalmanson and Rosenblum family. Stanley Allen Fisher, remembered by the Fisher family. Bob Saget, remembered by the Sage family. Charles Nathan Wallens, remembered by the Moline family. Milt Morris, remembered by the Bluestone, Morris, and Ryfold families. And Mario Arce, remembered by the Hanisch and Banner families. We also think about those who died during this season in years past. Naomi Banks, Alice Bomberg, Herb Cheritz, Rudy Drews, Philip Dunner, Raina Edelman, Julio Flores, Daniel Garnick, Janet Garish, Ruth Glucksman, Frances Cecilia Sonderman, Samuel Greenbaum, Earl Greenberg, George Hallier, Manny Katz, Leonard Kay, Frederick Corpio, Edna Kodik, Florence Levine, Ethel Levine, Francis Linsk, Bruce Reed, Pearl Robinson, Ida Sachs, Tom Sherrick, Emmanuel Shoshan, Marion Wallens, Ann Zebrak, and David Feinberg. If you're currently in a state of mourning or observing a yortzeit, share the name of your beloved with us. If you're in the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva, please rise. If you're in the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise. If you're in the first year of mourning, please rise. If you're observing a yortzeit, please rise. These are the mourners in our midst. We rise to show them our love and our support. We are on page 598. And Cynthia and I will lead you in the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yikadash me rabba, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala v'yizman kari v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabba mevarak leolam olamei amaya. Yit barach, v'yish tabach, v'yit pa'ar, v'yit romam, v'yit naseh, v'yit adar, v'yit aleh, v'yit alal, shmei dekud shah, b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace on high grant peace for all who mourn, for all Israel, and for all humankind. And together we say, Amen. And I'm keeping Cynthia up here, though, to hold our Kiddush cup and our challah as tonight's sponsor. So put your arms around the people next to you if you know them. Do not put your arm around somebody if you do not know them without asking first. Here we go. You don't have to hold the Kiddush cup yet, though. You can just sway.
Ose shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'aleinu. שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל העולם.
Now let's all hold up our imaginary Kiddush cups. Fill them with grape juice. Fill them with wine. Fill them with whatever you want to fill them with. I don't care. Here we go. Hold them up nice and tall. We'll do a short version tonight.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
Take a little bit of grape juice. L'chaim. And now we have this beautiful challah that Cynthia baked for us. Let's all point at that and go, yummy, yum, yum. Here we go.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This concludes our service. We're going to put the challah right over here. If you like to grab a piece, you can. Cynthia has to because she was holding it. Cynthia, you got to take a bite. Hey, you got to take a bite, though, even though I just touched it. No.